If we speak about CIS countries where we are present and we know this market and we feel comfortable there, then the situation is a little bit different. Those markets, except for Belarus, is growing considerably. Even in 2008, when there was a, let's say, crisis in the Europe, in States, basically in the whole world, those markets were growing despite of the crisis, both in unit terms and in monetary terms. Reasons why are different. Basically, if you follow what happens in Russia, in Ukraine, mostly in Russia, I would say, then states started to pay patients for drugs. So if we look at the size of the market, it's growing also because Russian government is increasing a portion of subsidies, or let's say portion of compensation it pays to the patients. This is on the one hand. On the other hand, big pharma, following the trends in the farm business, as I mentioned, Europe is not growing, CIS countries are growing. Big pharma is basically penetrating those markets heavily, making price-wise, devoting huge money for marketing budgets, so the competition is growing there as well. On the other side, it's not a secret that in many countries, in CIS countries, Kazakhstan, Russia, Ukraine, governments in those countries basically claimed local producers support programs. The best, let's say, example is definitely Russia, where local producers are supported in many different forms and ways, starting from custom duty tax for import products, ending up with price preference in terms of, in the case of state tenders, support for renovation of old production sites, and so on and so forth. Besides, you remember that 3 countries joined into custom union. This is Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Russia. So this difference in the approach to the importers will increase even more. Also, local producers definitely going to the segments in the market where the growth is going or coming from, and basically introducing new generics in the segments where the biggest growth is coming from. What we can basically put on the table in this case as Grindeks, definitely cheaper or lower cost base as compared to old Europe. This is first. Second, definitely this is a quality level which is still better than from local producers. This is what we perceive from the market. This is on the one hand. On the other hand, we definitely have to follow the rules of the game in the market, localizing our products, which basically gives us the chance to compete to full extent and derive more profit from our activities in those markets. Following those trends, we made the first step with our main product, Mildronate, and basically injection form of this drug. Not fully, but to some extent, about 40% is produced in Russian Federation at the site of our partner Farm Standard in Ufa. So basically, that allows us to be on the competitive edge with the local producers, which nowadays introduced also generic of Mildronate. If we speak about Belarus, the trend is the same. Government fully support local producers. Government fully try to, let's say, push away importers, and this difference is even bigger than in Russia. In Belarus, to win in the state tender, if you are an importer, you can only in one case when there is no local product, no matter what the price you propose. Very simple. And the cost base definitely in Belarus is much lower than in let's say in Latvia or in Slovakia, where we produce partially our injectables, or in Poland where we produce part of our injectables, and so on and so forth. Okay. This is first. If we speak about active pharmaceutical ingredients, the story is the same. The story is old. The story, I would say, in all markets we compete. In terms of simple products, we compete with Chinese and India. Those two countries basically made a huge step, let's say, forward, and basically they are quite competitive in terms of introduction of new products. On the other hand, quality is lagging behind. So the strategy of Grindeks in this case, for many years already, was very simple. We do not strive for simple products, for simple, huge volume products. Everything we are doing, we compete in sophisticated products. In the segment where products are produced in the way of many stage synthesis, like for example oxytocin, like for example Zepiclone, and so on and so forth. Okay, niche of Grindeks is not huge volume simple products. On the other way, we are striving for sophisticated products. The result of this strategy is very simple. Nowadays we keep about 30% of the world market of oxytocin. We keep about 25% of the world market of Zepiclone. And we keep about 30% of the veterinary API market in European Union. And we expect no change in this strategy. In our view, this is the only way we can be in the market. On the other hand, if you look at Grindeks and if you think that Grindeks is a two-way business, API and the final dosage form, this is not really correct. The ideal way how we try to build the business is to ensure vertical integration between those two parts of the business. So if we start with API, we go to the final dosage form. This is the biggest value we can derive. If you imagine in a cost, or let's say, or in the price way, how the business looks like, then if you take a final dosage form, only 10% of the price of this final dosage form will be API. So the biggest value comes from final dosage form. But on the other way, if we speak about our possibility to introduce new generics in the market, then there is no way to introduce them without having API side of the business. Okay? What we think about the generic strategy in the Grindeks and what we are what we are trying to do. So the plan and the strategy and the plan which is announced to our shareholders, and basically this is how our at least main shareholder view us, is that we have to introduce, and we plan to introduce, at least 4 new generics annually in 4 countries simultaneously. If we speak about 4 generics, then it's not a food supplements, it's not vitamins, it's a serious prescribed drugs in the segment where we're working in. This is CNS segment, cardiovascular, anti-cancer.